there's a fish. I've got 6 pound test, so I'm loosening my drag a little bit. Hey, today we're going to talk about drop shotting, and I'm going to be using a Shimano Compre drop shot rod, 6'8", with an extra fast tip. You need this fast tip to be able to get the subtle bites. I'm also going to pair that with some 6-pound fluorocarbon. Before we get into the fishing, check out how I tie all these knots. Hi, today we're going to talk about drop shot. I'm going to explain to you how to tie a new drop shot knot onto your drop shot hook. This is an octopus hook. You're going to need a weight of some sort. This is a cylindrical weight. They also make a ball weight. You're going to need fluorocarbon line. This is 6-pound test because I'm fishing very, very clear water. And you're going to need some soft plastic. This is a Jackall crosstail shad. Okay, to tie this knot, I'm going to take my fluorocarbon, and I hope you can see this. I put this green towel here, but it may be difficult because this is 6-pound test, very hard to see. But the most important thing about this entire knot is to go in on the hook side first. Okay, so I'm going to go in once. Now this is not the Palomar knot that most people use. I'm going to pull out a good 24 inches or so of line, and I'm going to make a big loop with that line. So here's the tag end that I pulled out. I'm going to double it over, but I'm not going back through the eye of the hook. Okay, so what that's going to do is create a loop, and I'm pinching the line, but again, I've only gone through the eyelet of the hook once. So I'm going to grab both parts of the line with my left hand and both parts with my right hand. And then all I'm going to do is take my hook and start wrapping it 5 to 6 times. I know it's hard to see with the fluorocarbon, but there is a loop here that I'm going through. Okay, that should be good. Now I'm going to slowly cinch this down before I wet it and start to make this loop get smaller and smaller. So hopefully you can see that. I'm not pulling very hard, so I don't think I need to wet it quite yet. Okay, now we're starting to get a smaller loop, so I am going to wet this knot. Anytime you're tying a fluorocarbon knot, you're going to want to net it, wet it so it doesn't burn itself or leave an abrasion mark on the line. Okay, so hopefully you can see what's happening here. I'm starting to tighten it down. Now the other important thing about this knot is as you tighten it down, I want the knot to cinch on the outer edge of the eyelet. So I've got one side, here comes the other side. Okay, so they're both snug. Now I'm going to tighten it, and there's my knot. Now the weight is going to be down here, and you can see that the hook is going to stand right up the way you want it to for a drop shot. Alright, now another tip, before I put this weight on, I'm going to just tie a simple overhand knot at the end of my line, and what that's going to do is prevent that weight from just slipping off with a little bit of resistance. The whole idea is that the weight will slip off if I get it caught up in a rock, and I don't have to retie the whole rig, and all I'm going to do is lose the weight. But I don't want it falling off every single time it just hits something with little resistance. And that used to be a problem I would run into when I first started to drop shot. Go, cinch that down. So just a simple overhand knot. So now I go through the weight. make sure that I go over that knot. Now, if I were to leave this here, I've got about a 15-inch lead. I could shorten this and give myself a 10-inch lead if I'd like, but that knot is still going to be down at the end. Okay, for my purposes, I do want my weight about 12 to 15 inches from the bait. Okay, so there we go. Now, if this were to slide, it'll hit this knot before it just easily slips off. Next, I'm going to talk about a couple of ways to rig your plastics. Now, again, this is a crosstail shad, resembles a minnow. Until I saw this filmed underwater, I didn't realize how good these look. If you haven't seen that video, check out my other video with some underwater shots. So the first way I'm going to rig this is weedless, and that's probably my favorite way. So the hook's going to be pointed up. When I'm done, I want the plastic embedded in the hook and that hook just barely poking out. So to do that, I just kind of measure, and I come in from the bottom and bring my point of my hook right there. I can kind of feel it with my finger, and there's the weedless. Now when this is hanging off the hook, now of course I'm not in water, so this is gonna, the weight of the plastic is gonna cause the hook to go down, but basically it would look something like this, and it just flows natural in the current. It's a really, really good way to hook up your drop shot. Now the non-weedless, you barely skin hook it and you go like this, and that's another pretty good way to rig your bait. It does freely move side to side, more so than the weedless, and that's one advantage. Another trick is to what I've heard referred to as gill hook it. It's not quite wacky, but you're going to hook it about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch from the head like this. And sometimes when those fish are really finicky, I don't know what it is about this, but they will hit it. And then another way would be a total wacky, where you go more in the middle, and it's going to look something like that. So there's a couple of options. I, most of the time, I'm going to rig it this way, and if I'm very, very confident that I'm fishing a spot where there are fish and I just can't get bit, then before I start changing colors, I'm going to change up how I hook this bait. If I'm still very confident that there's fish there, I've tried hooking it different ways, then I'm going to start changing my colors, my size of the plastic, maybe the length of the lead between the hook and the weight. So those are some things to think about when drop shotting. Okay, when you're drop shotting, the electronics become really important. So you can see I've got my Humminbird side imaging, down imaging in 2D, and I've got my Helix with the mapping chip, and I can zoom in. You can see we're right on the edge of a rock bar and some weeds. So I'm gonna motor along here, and we're gonna come up on some deeper weeds. Here they come. You can see them starting right there. That's in about 10-12 foot of water. There's a clump of weeds right over there. And so this would be a good place to try to drop shot. I've got some rocks, I've got a weed edge, here's some boulders right here. So we'll give this area a try. So now up here on my bow, I've got a Humminbird and a Minn Kota. You can see I've got a waypoint there, and as I sneak up, the depth is gonna get shallower and shallower, and we're gonna get to these deeper weeds with a little bit of a rock pile off of this bar. You can see it's connected to an island there on the right side of the screen. And I've got this on a split screen, so I can watch not only my graph on the left in 2D, but I can also watch my positioning on the lake with the Lake Master map. And here comes some fish on the bottom right there. You can see it's getting hard. The red means that this is rock, and that's a fish. Let's see if we can catch him. So I just hit spot lock on my Minn Kota, and it's going to use the GPS to keep us exactly on this positioning where we saw that fish. So now I'm going to take my drop shot rig and flip it out there. Now, there's a couple ways to work these. I like to click the bail right away so my drop shot's dropping on a tight line. Sometimes the fish will hit it on the way down. Once I've hit the bottom, I'm just going to ever so slightly twitch the tip of my rod. Probably the biggest mistake people make with drop shotting is they overwork the bait. You just barely want to twitch. In fact, a lot of times I just dead stick it. I don't even move it. There's enough current under the water, a little bit of wave action from the waves, sailing in a boat, that crosstail shad is just jiggling under the water. Now, if I don't get bit, I am going to give it maybe a little pop like so, move it about 3 feet. I'm hoping that pop will get the attention of a fish, and then I repeat. I just barely shake it, dead stick it a little bit. Again, this rod is so sensitive that even a slight bite, I'll be able to detect. Now, setting the hook with a drop shot, it's not a hard set. You're going to snap off your fluorocarbon leader. Basically, all I do is reel down and tighten up the line. It's a very, very sharp hook, so usually you're going to be pinned right in the roof of the mouth with that fish. Alright, there's a fish. I've got 6-pound test, so I'm loosening my drag a little bit. There you go. Chunky little largemouth. Maybe a 15-incher. His belly on him. Put this guy back. And so again, that was caught on this time it was a fluke. I wasn't getting bit, so I changed up my plastics a couple times and finally got one. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps you out with learning how to drop shot.